evaluate Mara, and Michael will evaluate Jimmy Dent. Also, Noah has stepped up to be the general evaluator for tonight.
Great.
With that, it's 7 o'clock. Jimmy Dent, all yours.
I'm sorry, Roger. I'm off in another planet. Who am I evaluating?
Mara.
Dagmara. Okay. That's what I thought. Thank you.
I will mute everyone except Jimmy Dent, and Jimmy Dent is our president. Mr. Jimmy Dent, all yours.
Okay, can everybody see the screen? I want to remind everybody this meeting will be recorded. Policy is stills and excerpts from the video may be used by the club in its public relations and social media outreach. We can make exceptions upon request. So if you don't want your image being displayed or your comments, please let David know. I believe David is the one that does the editing and posting of the video. It's typically videoed within our group, not in public. It's for the use of the members. I want to welcome everybody to Online Presenters Toastmasters. Also want to thank Ring Central for providing the software, which uses a Zoom base within it so we can hold our online meetings. Zoom is winning in the cloud over other platforms. Some meeting tips is to use a headset and earbuds or anything that has a noise canceling microphone so we don't get feedback or strange noise. Turn your mic off or mute it when you're not speaking so we don't pick up background noise from yours during somebody else speaking. And if you're going to do something that might be distracting, you can also mute your video, turn your video off. The controls are usually in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. There's two different views, a gallery view and a speaker view. Those controls are in the upper right-hand corner. You can toggle between the two. Sometimes the gallery view is easier to keep track of the timer. If not, know who the timer is and be watching the timer for the signals. Watch for the timer. The timer will be using cards on the timer tonight. So I have green, yellow, and red cards I'll be holding up. And I'll also be making a sound, an audible sound in case you can't see me. I'll try to make a sound that's noticeable, but quick and short. If you're interested in joining, you haven't done so far, we have a join button on the website, which you can go to and fill out some information if you're interested in joining, or you know somebody else that might be interested in joining. Point them to our website, WordPress website, and tell them to click on the join feature. It's now showtime, so we're going to go back to the meeting, and I'll quit sharing, and I'll turn the meeting back to Roger, who's our Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I am Roger, and I am your Toastmaster of this evening, or day, or afternoon, wherever you are. We are paying a little tribute to Aretha Franklin. She is somebody I'm sure that maybe each and every one of you have heard one or two of her songs. It's interesting that a number of her greatest hits were that she was not the original singers for. We'll learn some more about that a little bit later. To help me out with our meeting, let's introduce some of our helpers. First and foremost, our art calendar, Elaine. Please let us know what you'll be doing today.
Hi, as your counter, I will be listing for all those and wells, but, so's, you knows, ers, clutch words, etc. But relax, do the best you can. I'll be easy on you at the end.
Thank you, Elaine. Mr. Jimmy Dent is our timer. He also mentioned it earlier that he will be using both the color cards and a sound to help us out throughout the evening. Our grammarian, Sunny.
Hello, everybody. I will be the grammarian for today, looking for awkward uses of words. I also just remembered that I should also have a word of the day, correct?
Yes, the word of the day is being chosen. Is
Oh,
respect.
wonderful. Oh, respect. Okay, well, we have to have a little bit of R-E-S-P-E-C-T, R-E-S-P-E-C-T, and I will be reporting at the end of the meeting how many times it was used and even spelled correctly. Back to you.
Thank you, Sunny. Next up, our watcher, Miss Rachel.
Good evening. I will be watching to make sure we're all respectful of our time and space and different things going on in our speeches, and I will let us know at the end how we did.
Thank you, Rachel. Next up, our vote counter, Mr. David.
I will be counting the votes for the table topics, formal speeches, and evaluations. And you should send me a private note. So select my name using the little drop-down list in the chat button. Send me your votes that way when we call for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. David. We do have a chat monitor, Mr. Quick.
Toastmaster, as chat monitor, I'll be watching the chat, making sure you respect the chat, and I'll be giving a report at the end of the meeting, a nice little summary of the highlights of the chat this evening. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. We have a full schedule today. We have 3 speakers and table topic. So let's sit back, relax. Let's respect our speakers by giving them our full attention so that they can dazzle us with what they have planted, and that we can each give them some feedback, whether we put it into the chat box or our official evaluator, so we'll help them get better, and we will get also inspired by their speeches. First up, we have Norman. Norman is working on his speech in presentation mastery, level 3, managing online meetings. He will be giving a webinar. The title of his speech is A Shortcut to a Successful Business. A Shortcut to a Successful Business. Norman Dow.
Oh, hello, everyone. My speech tonight is a shortcut to a successful business. I'm giving this to people who perhaps are already in businesses, or at least considering that we'd like to be in a business. Most Americans actually would like to be or have their own business. Now, why listen to me? Well, first of all, I'm a former business broker. I, for some time, sold daycare centers, of all things. I'm also the former chief information officer for the U.S. Minority Business Development Agency, and there I really was in charge of helping using an e-platform to help minorities across the United States and its territories do business better. I'm an entrepreneurial educator and, surprise, a speaker. The big idea, there are a couple things that really stand out, but one of the most important things about a business is a statement a friend of mine, an entrepreneur, said many years ago, and that is the best way to have a successful business is to buy a successful business. When you close, whatever money the owner received, you receive. When you close the business, whatever money the owner received, you actually receive. Now, key facts. Today, baby boomers are twice as likely as millennials to actually start a business. A lot of the press is focused around the millennials who gather in coffee shops or congregate in Silicon Valley, but the reality is that people in my age bracket and most of the age brackets of my listeners are twice as likely to start businesses as the millennials. Many of us are actually choosing entrepreneurship over retirement, when people would think that once you're past 55, kick back and no problem, don't move to Florida and play golf, but start a business. Now, let me just talk about why it is good. Today, I just pulled a current listing from Middlesex County, New Jersey. It stood out for me because, one, it's a daycare center, and two, I spent 9 years in Middlesex County when I was a young man. And let's look at this listing. It came from the site bizbuysell.com. The asking price is $529,000. That's a fair amount of money. The gross revenue we see there, but the thing that's interesting to most of us is what we call the cash flow. In business purchasing parlance, cash flow is the amount of money that comes back to the owner. It's a combination of dividends and salary, depending on how the owner chooses to split it, but it's the cash flow that comes back. If you look here, it's $196,000. That's not too shabby for running a daycare center in Middlesex County. By the way, Middlesex County, for you that are not New Jerseyans, is the place that actually hosts Rutgers University at New Brunswick, Piscataway, places like that. Now, when we look at buying a business, there's some immediate benefits that accrue to someone that buys versus start. First of all, there's immediate revenue. And we looked at a daycare center. If you were to start a daycare center in my county, right here where I happen to live, it's probably about a 2-year process before you get all the permits and all the licenses ready to actually open and try to find your first student. And then the next student and the next student. It's a long time before you get to a break-even point. But again, as I said, when you purchase a business, the day you close, whatever the prior owner got, you get. You have a tested business model. You don't have to worry about, will my idea work? Even if it's a franchise and you buy an existing franchise, you know that it works. You have the right to look at 3 years of the tax returns of the former owner about that business. And if it worked well before and you don't mess it up, it will probably work in the future. It's not a hope or dream, it's a likelihood. You inherit the existing staff, suppliers, and customers. You have the ability to look at them and understand, are they good, bad? But you can actually use them. You don't have to recruit people and work them into your own environment. And then there's an opportunity for expansion based on your insights, your ability to leverage your expertise without worrying about, okay, well, the isms. I'm worried about ageism. I'm over 50, or I'm worried about racism. I'm Black, or I'm worried about sexism. I'm female. You can use your expertise to actually help your business grow. The sources of funding. The obvious ones are savings. There are loans, the SBA guaranteed 7A program, sometimes home equity, but seller financing, quite often, sellers will finance the business, and it's dependent upon how you connect with them. Some of those financing is no money down. Some of it requires maybe typically to 20%, but it's a negotiation. It's not based on your credit. It's not based on anything except your connection with the seller of the business. And the other way of doing it is a rollover for business startups. Now you can take your 401k and use a significant amount of that to actually purchase a business. And the business I showed you before, which was about $569,000, if you took about $40,000 out of your 401k, you could use that to be the down payment, a 20% down on the business. And then, of course, you'll get the money accruing every year. How much does a business go for? Usually about 3 times its cash flow. Banks are conservative. That's why seller finance or some other things like the 401 is probably a better option. And in your own involvement, the larger businesses often require oversight, so you can be the CEO. The smaller businesses, you actually have to get there and get your hands dirty. You know, bizbuysell.com, good luck in your pathway to a successful business. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Norman. Let's quickly give a little bit of a reply back to Norman, if you like, either publicly or privately in your chat box. Our next speaker is Mara. And I feel like I should give her proper respect by standing up, but you'll be staring at my stomach, so I will not do so, because today she is giving her 10th speech in her Competent Communicator. It's time to knock this out by inspiring all of us. The title of her speech is 2 Secrets to Happy Cross-Cultural Relationships. Life is not always what we expect it to be. Sometimes it plays jokes on us, but this is the way we learn. 2 Secrets to Happy Cross-Cultural Relationship. Mora, take it away.
Fellow Toastmasters, have you ever felt like life play a big, nasty joke on you? I felt like that when I got married. Before I got married, I really used to think that I'm not going to ever marry a foreigner, because how we are going to speak in different languages about sophisticated topics like international politics or meaning of life. Well, that's really what I thought the relationships are about. And I think that's why life brought me back to earth and gave me a lesson of the true nature of successful relationships. So the life brought me a foreign husband who spoke no Polish and was an Asian. So today, you might ask, how did it work out for you? Overall, pretty great. That's why I want to talk about 2 secrets to successful cross-cultural relationships. The secret number 1 is to embrace cultural differences. And there will be so many of them, from eating, clothing habits, to how they treat their parents, usually with a huge respect, and many, many other things on the way that you will learn every day. But these cultural differences are here to enrich your life and to add another layer to your relationship. Just to give you an example. In my culture, when someone is eating loudly, doing this slurping sounds, I will judge him as a very rude person. But in my husband culture, all it means is the food is tasty. That's it. So you see what's happening. You stop judging your partner on a personal level. All you do instead is to discuss, talk about these differences, and try to find a common ground. So actually, you communicate more than you would usually and normally communicate in a regular relationship, because you need to double check, you need to have a huge clarity that you are on the same page. You really discuss a lot. And this is the key to the relationship, right? A great quality communication. The second thing, these cultural differences not only teach you about being more patient and less judgmental and not jump into conclusions, but they also enrich your life in a sense that every day there is something new happening, something a little bit unpredictable, maybe uncertain. Some cultural differences will be weird, funny. Some of them will be very inspiring. So you have also plenty of things to talk about with your partner. So secret number one, embrace and acknowledge cultural differences because they will enrich your life. The second secret to happy cross-cultural relationship, I have only 3 words. Just do it. And I promise this speech is not sponsored by Nike. I wish, but it's not. But seriously, it's really just about taking your chances and going for it. You never know what wonderful connection you can get from a person from a different side of the globe. And sometimes when you scrap these cultural differences, if you forget about them for a while, you will see that in terms of human connection, we all have the same needs, like needs for love, for understanding, for respect, and for safety. And you might realize that you just have the same values, family value. Maybe you have the same approach to money or lifestyle. You will discover that many things that you have in common. But the only problem with this just do it thing is that first you need to acknowledge these cultural differences. That's the first step. And I tell you why. When I was in Asia, specifically in China for a couple of years, I had the impression that no one approached me for 3 years. And then I learned, when I learned the language, when I learned about the culture, that actually Chinese men approached me, but they did it in their own way, very vague, very unexplicit. I come from a European culture, so I was raised differently. In my culture, men are more assertive and they are just trying all the time. Just look at Italians. What are they doing? They're the best example, like quintessential typing of flirting and romance in Europe. They basically try constantly. They use these words like amore mio, principessa. They look you straight in the eye. And even if they fail, they still go for it. So this is something what was missing in Asian culture. And I couldn't approach them because this is not what's expected from women in my culture. So we couldn't meet anywhere. There was a gap, we couldn't fill it. So that was the problem. They couldn't play according to the Western part of the game because they didn't have the context, they didn't understand the culture. And the message that they were passing, it was not getting through me. So that's very important to, yes, take your chances and do it after acknowledging and embracing cultural differences. So, fellow Toastmasters, what I want to know today is that if you ever meet people from very different distance culture from your own, it might be Asian culture or any different type of culture that is just very far away, maybe you can just try to keep in mind about these 2 things I told today, talk about today, because it's not really only applicable in love relationship. Embracing these cultural differences can really enrich your life, can make you more understanding, can make you more patient, can give you so much value, and can even change your biases like I had before with this no marrying foreigners, no only Polish language because we need to speak about certain topics. So it can really help you on so many levels. And once you acknowledge that and understand how you are different, I bet it will bring you together and it will help you to connect. And then you need to do the second step. Just do it. Thank you.
I see if David was able to stand up. Moving very well.
It's really good. Great job. Great job. I'm so proud of you. Woo!
Go!
Go, Dagmara. We're super proud of you.
Dagmara's completion of her competent communicator. And next time when my wife tells me to shut my mouth while eating, I will tell her, food is good. And she can talk to Dagmara all about it. So let's give her a little bit of comments, if you like, publicly or privately, into the chat box. And as you do, well, let's get ready for our third speaker, Jimmy Dan. Jimmy is our club's president, and he is working on a speech. Let me see it. He is working on getting comfortable with visual aids. The title of his speech is Setting Personal Goals. He's going to time himself. His time is going to be 6 to 8 minutes, and Michael has jumped in to be his evaluator. So let us welcome Mr. Jimmy Dan, Setting Personal Goals.
Okay, welcome everybody. How many of you have ever set a personal goal? Raise your hand. I'd be surprised if nobody has ever set a personal goal. If you didn't raise your hand, you're probably a procrastinator, and you'll answer that later on. What I'm going to talk to you about tonight is starting at the top, is to set personal goals. Within Toastmasters, you need to involve the members of your club or the other members that you know. You need to involve your VPE. You should obtain a mentor or coach. Your goals should be SMART goals. And you should align it with one of the educational programs. You should also review your progress from time to time and take steps to maintain focus. And in the end, reward yourself for accomplishing your goals or finishing off the tasks within a goal. Now, I did some research on this, and I found the information I'm using tonight from these sources, which includes Toastmasters website, articles from Forbes and Industry Week, a strategic coach organization, Lolly Daskell, Mike Moore, and Max Story, who I follow on LinkedIn a lot and do a lot with Keynote, with leadership and coaching and mentoring articles, and a website called Great Motivational Stories. Now imagine you're out in the woods, in the forest, walking along a trail, and you come to a fork in the trail. And you're not sure which way to go. And then you notice an old lady sitting along the side of the path. So you ask the old lady, where do these two paths go? And she says, well, where do you want to go? He says, I don't know, I'm just out for a walk. And she says, then it really doesn't matter which path you take. And that's the way some people approach goals. It's an ad hoc. They don't really know what their goals is. They just go day by day trying to get done whatever they can get done without setting any goal. So you want to involve your members to help you define your goals. You can solicit ideas from them. Another thing is to let them know what your goals are so they can help you achieve those goals. You're not by yourself. Your friends, your club members are all part of your goal team. They can contribute a lot to helping you. You want to involve your VPE in the club. They're the ones that's going to help to recognize you at club meetings. They're going to encourage you to complete your goals, and they may even help you identify the goals and how it ties into everything better, which could be more motivational for you, rather you just thinking it's a goal. Some people have a goal, they want to do a DTM, but what's the importance? A VPE may be able to help you identify more important aspects of obtaining the DTM rather than just checking off a box. Get a mentor or a coach. The benefit of the mentor or coach is they can help review the progress with you. They can help point out, they can help you break down your goal into small tasks. So you really focus on the small tasks, not on the overall goal. And the mentor is a great source of advice and answers to questions you may have. And they're also encouraging you, and they'll push you to meet your goal. Has anybody ever seen a turtle on top of a fence post? You know he had some help. And that's the same thing with goal setting. You don't do everything yourself. You seek out help. And the same goes for when the turtle gets down off the fence post. He's not going to get down off that fence post by himself unless a strong wind comes along. He's going to get help from people. So don't be afraid to ask for help. That's an important part of setting goals. When you're not sure what to do, ask for help and get on top of that fence post. Your goals should be SMART goals. And that simply means they should be very specific. They should be measurable. They should be assignable. They're realistic. Don't try to solve world hunger. And they should be time-based. You should have dates that you want to achieve. Tie it to the educational program. Today's educational program is Pathways. If you're working on some paths, or maybe you're planning to do a path in the future, set your goals relative to the paths or to the DTM goals in Pathways. It's important to tie it to something within Toastmasters educational program. Even if you're working on the old traditional program, like I'm doing tonight, I use the CC manual for back pocket speeches or fill-in speeches that don't quite fit the pathways. Track your progress. This is where your mentor can help you also. Keep track of where you're going. If you have to change your dates for goals or tasks, change them. Nothing's set in concrete. Everything should be flexible. Maintain focus. This is also part of, don't let having to change your goals or your timeline or tasks be a distraction. Things happen in life. Things happen at work. You have to change the goal and your task and the deadlines. But refocus and stay on course. Don't let other things distract you off course. It's very easy to get distracted with other things. Your coach and your club members can help you stay focused. Use those tools and those people. Reward yourself. How do you reward yourself? Well, so you might treat yourself to a dinner or a special dessert. Or you may go out and buy something in a store. Whatever you decide to reward yourself with is your own choice. Your club will reward you by clapping the end of a speech, or possibly the VPE signifying to the club that you've achieved a certain accomplishment. It may not be an award, but it may be something special, like you've done your 6th speech, or you've completed a level, or you've done an outstanding job on a project within the club, such as organizing a contest or organizing some special event. One thing you could do is give yourself a pat on the back. Everybody likes to be patted on the back and have a job well done. So don't be afraid or be discouraged if you're the only one that pats yourself on the back. Do it. Reward yourself. So what we talked about tonight was the things around goal setting. These 8 aspects which is involve members, involve the VPE, involve the mentor or coach, use SMART goals, tie to the educational program, review your progress frequently, maintain your focus on your goals, and reward yourself when you accomplish your tasks or your goals. And any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. Please go ahead, also send some notes to Jimmy. Jimmy then, publicly or privately. And Jimmy, would you go ahead also type down the time of our 3 speakers into the chat box?
I will.
As he's doing that, Respect, obviously, is one of the most popular songs from Aretha Franklin. And if you know, no need to unmute yourself, but if you know the original singer for that song, raise your hand. Nobody? Oh, 1, 2. All right. Another song that's famous, that Aretha Franklin is famous for, is I Say a Little Prayer. It's also not her original, she's also not the original singer for that song. The original singer for that song was Dionne Warwick, and she took it to go, and less than 2 years later, Aretha Franklin did it slightly differently, and she took it to go too. And a number of songs that she has, whether it's started off with a little bit on the negative side or sad side or not, it mentioned oftentimes how she's being inspired by certain people or certain thing. And I hope that our 3 speakers have inspired you. And I believe that all 3 speakers have qualified. So therefore, please send your vote as your favorite speaker for tonight to David Carr privately. Let's move on, continue on, and move on into our next segment, which is the table topic segment. Miss Adrian is our table topic master, and she will maybe let us know to find out what it means to be respected. To you, Adrian.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Aretha Franklin, everyone should know by now that she died on Thursday, which was August 16, 2018. It just happens to be my mother's birthday, so I can remember that date. It's an important date for me. She was also born in the same month that I was born in. I was born on March 23rd. She was born 2 days later, March 25th. She was an American icon called the Queen of Soul, Miss Aretha Franklin. So in honor of her today, our table topic will be centered around some of the songs that she's created. First is going to be using a question. And this one is going to go to Angela Smucker. Could you please tell us what it feels like for you to be a natural woman?
Okay. What it feels like. Well, I'm the real deal. I would say I say what I think, and sometimes I'm not too happy about it afterwards. I talk to people all the time. I feel like everybody is a friend of mine, but I just haven't met them all yet. And I think that that's part of being a natural woman. I'm interested in a variety of things like art, science, sports, literature, lots of different things. I think it's a little bit like being a Renaissance man, that you have a broad range of interests. And I'm from the baby boomer generation, so I think that's our generation. So I think that's our generation. So I think we're natural women in this generation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I can imagine that she started that song in 1968. Wow. I'm going to take this all the way to 1974 when she did the song, Until You Come Back to Me. We have all had a relationship with some person, and we just wish that they would see us and love us like we love them. Michael, could you please tell us about a time that you felt like, until this person comes back to me, I just will never be the same? Make sure you're unmute. Michael.
Michael, I've unmuted you already.
Yes, thank you for reminding me on the muting part. I think over the years there are special ways, and this happens in a great. Can you hear me? I think the okay.
We can hear you now, but we couldn't hear you in the beginning. So if you would start over, that would be great. And timer, if you could start them over.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. I think that there are many areas in our lives where we come in touch, we come in contact with people that affect our lives very positively. And in a certain sense, a lot of them become our mentors. This not only is in our family lives, in the way we treat other people, the way we're educated by our parents and other people who influence our lives, but also in our jobs, in our work, etc. And I feel that a lot of these, I'm not very familiar with Mrs. Franklin. I've heard her songs, but I don't know the details of her life. But just the fact that she became an icon, became a star, and had such a tremendous influence, that is something that I admire tremendously. I think the influence, being an example for other people, coming out of a situation where you really have to develop and become strong, or develop a certain abilities which can in a given moment affect other people, that is something that's tremendous. I admire people that are so proactive. There's the great majority of people sit back and just watch life go by. But there are those people that will take a special interest, will make a special effort, and are able to transmit their feelings and their successes to other people. And those are an example to us. And I think that's something that we should keep our eyes open to and hope for. But it gives us the opportunity of being able to influence other people's life as well. Thank you, Mr. Topic Master.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. Now, I'm going to direct the next question to Chris or Jim. You can decide which one will answer the question. But because you are always traveling all over the highway in your mobile home, I know you have passed a bridge during your travels. And one of the songs that she did in 1971 was Bridge Over Waters. It could have been a storm. It could have been just some trouble you had in your life. Tell us about a time that you had to experience Bridge Over Troubled Waters.
I thought that was fun. Do you want to take it?
No, you do.
Okay. Jim says that I want to take this question. So Bridge.
Perfect.
Troubled Waters. I thought that's a Simon. I know that is a Simon and Garfunkel song. So I'll go with that. And it is one of my favorite songs from my high school years, when you need somebody to help you. That was, to me, the point of that song, was somebody that will help you over the troubled waters. And that actually makes me think of Jim. We have a wonderful relationship. I mean, what relationship couldn't be good when all you do is travel? But it reminds me of a Hallmark card that was the most wonderful, that with somebody else to help you, with somebody to help you, the lows are half as low and the highs are twice as high. So that to me is what a bridge over troubled waters. The troubled waters calm down when you have help to get you over it. and they are all the more exciting when you are on a raft in white water and you have somebody to enjoy it with you. Bridge over troubled waters. Thank you, Madam Topic Master.
Awesome. Thank you. And now we're going to go back to 1968. She did a song that talked about a chain of fools. We have been either a bunch of fools, and you're sitting here thinking, this is a chain of fools. It could have been a chain of fools that you dated. It could have been a chain of fools in your family. Claudio, please tell us about something in your life where you experienced a chain of fools. And please check your mute.
Yeah. Can you give advice about the chain of fools? That is something that I don't know in my culture.
A chain is like, you know, you experience like a chain of failures, a chain of successes. This is a chain of fools. People you think are stupid, they're obnoxious. And it was just one after the other, people that you've met that you choose not to be into because you think they're dumb and foolish. And that's an experience you've had. It could have been at work. It could have been a relationship with women. Okay. It could have been dating, especially speed networking. It could have been any experience in your life where you've had a chain of people that you've met and they turned out to be fools.
Okay, thank you very much. It's interesting because it's very usual, very common in our daily relationships, and mainly at work, at our environment. A lot of people want to solve your issues or give advice what is better for you, and if he was in your position, what you should do. So it's interesting because there are difficult for people to understand that we have a special characteristics, a special mindset, and we have our experience in how to deal with problems or opportunities. So in my experience, we have a lot of problems in relationships because others want to give you China Bulls and ask you to follow these ideas and put yourself in situations that sometimes you have to say, no, it's not this. I prefer that one. That's it in what I understood. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone, for participating in our recap of Aretha Franklin and the songs that she made hits over the years. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster. At this time, if you could please send your vote for Best Table Topic Speaker to David, that would be great. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Jimmy, quick question. Have all of our table topic speakers qualified?
Yes.
All right, all speakers qualified. That's Angela, Michael, Chris, and Claudio. Send your best table topic speaker vote to David Carr privately. In light of time, I'm going to ask all of our evaluators and role evaluators to keep our evaluation as tight as possible. Give them the best suggestions, the best quality that you have picked up. So we will start off first and foremost with our first speech evaluator, Miss Lois. You are unmuted.
Thank you, Roger, my fellow Toastmasters, and most especially Norman. Shortcut to a successful business. Well, first of all, you have to respect Norman. You can see that he is an amazing businessman. You set us up nicely by giving us your credentials that we would listen to you and know that you were the real deal. You had 2 things that you went, why buy, how to buy. Good idea. It was good, solid information. Because we're short of time, I'm going to go to the areas that might just take this a little bit higher. Number 1, you normally talk at a very high pitch. You want to punch something, you can't punch it because you're already loud and you're already high. Maybe you want to bring it down a little bit sometimes so that when you have something really important, you can raise your voice and you can make it in. The other thing I would think of is your PowerPoint slide files. They were incredibly informational, and I would probably have had a handout that I would have in the chat room and had more pictures in the slides themselves, because I found myself reading the slides along with you. You would actually literally have in there tested business model, immediate revenue, and I'm reading along with you, so I'm not really paying attention to you and your stories and about why, because I'm too busy just reading. So consider that some of the best PowerPoint presentations are really pictures that you supplement with your words. And because your words were so important and so strong, I think you could have had that link, because I know I was interested in knowing all that information, but for a presentation, I would have liked to have heard the stories a little bit more. Overall, Norman, I have a great deal of respect for you because you always deliver a fabulous, fabulous speech, and this was not an exception. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Lois. Our next evaluator, Jim Barber, evaluating that Maura's speech. You are unmuted, sir.
Toastmaster, my fellow Toastmasters, and especially competent communicator, Dagmara. This was speech number 10 from the basic manual. In this speech, it's special because in this speech, speech number 10, you demonstrate the skills that you've acquired in the first 9 presentations, in the first 9 projects of the basic manual. Congratulations, Dagmara, you did that. Your vocals, they were top-notch. Your pacing, your pauses, your volume, your clarity, all of those were, without doubt, they were great. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Your video presence, that's very important in our type of club. Your video presence is also top-notch, and I hope this isn't culturally inappropriate, but a lot of that comes from your fabulous smile. They talk about when a person smiles that they light up the room. You light up the camera when you smile. You've got a great smile, and it contributes to your presence. You also have great gestures, I think. The problem is that a lot of your gestures, let's see if I can do that here, a lot of your gestures were like this. We saw the tops of your fingers, but that was the extent of it. You need to get your gestures up a little bit higher. Now, you did that several times when you talked about the first thing, the second thing, and that sort of thing. But you had a lot of other great gestures that I think were going on down here, but I couldn't really see them. Get them up a little bit higher. The other thing, and it's a small thing, but it's important, I think, you ended your presentation by saying thank you. Don't do that. You don't, number one, you don't need to thank us. We thank you. It's the strongest thing of your presentation, and you had a great closing. Just don't say thank you. I realize that it's culturally polite, but in this particular culture, in the video culture, don't say thank you. Just end it powerfully like you did. Congratulations, competent communicator, Dagmara. That was terrific. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Next up, our evaluator for Jim Dent's speech is Michael. Michael, you are unmuted. Take it away.
Thank you. Mr. Toastmaster, president of the club. Jimmy, I think you did a terrific job. I really do. The overall objective was to get comfortable with visual aids, and I mean, at no time, at no point in the presentation did we feel that you weren't comfortable. What was the purpose of your presentation? Well, basically, it was setting personal goals. I think that you developed the content of your presentation very, very well. Well, first of all, you managed to catch our attention right at the beginning when you asked a question, and most of us had to think about how we would answer it. But secondly, the way you structured your whole presentation, I think that was extraordinary. You started out giving us an overall view of the different 8 steps that you suggest and recommend, and then you broke it down and went one step at a time, and each one of those particular steps that you were talking about was accompanied with a visual aid, an image, which was not cluttered. It was very graphic, but which allowed us to understand exactly what you were saying. And I think what I liked was at the close, you came back to your original 8 steps and you went over the same points once again. In other words, the center and finally you came back to that point. So I think the content of the presentation and the structure of the presentation, I think the content of the presentation and the structure of the presentation was extremely good. Did you have voice modulation? Yes, you did, of course. Facial expressions. In a video recording and a video speech, it's a bit difficult to your posture. I liked your posture. I agree a little bit with what Jim Barber said a few minutes ago as far as the hand gestures. I didn't see any hand gestures on your behalf in the speech. And perhaps that could have added something additional to the presentation, if we could have seen your hands somehow. I'm not sure, I'm not experienced in internet or video presentations. I'm not sure if that is so important or is not so important, but it adds additional expression. One of the things that happens very often with visual aids is that people tend to overcrowd the information. They put in too much information. I think you selected the visuals very well. So on the whole, I have to believe that the speech was very successful. I think you definitely achieved the objective that you were looking for, which was feeling comfortable. And the other is the purpose of getting everybody to understand the different steps involved. Not only was it enjoyable, it was interesting, but I think we're all taking notes of how we can use the things that you have taught us through your presentation. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to evaluate your speech, Jimmy.
Thank you, Michael. In light of the fact that I've asked all the evaluators to tighten their time, Jimmy, there's no need to report your time. All three evaluator qualified in terms of time. Go ahead and vote for your best evaluator. Send a private note to David. For the rest of the evening, let's keep all of our evaluation to your best tip. Maybe one best thing that you saw that we did that you want us to repeat, or one suggestions in your area that you would like us to highlight. And remember, first up, our counter. Elaine, you are unmuted.
Okay, I would like to just mention that I found ums and ahs and all those clutch words considerably down this evening compared to the last time I was listening. I want to comment to Dagmara that she had a vast improvement in her number of ums and ahs, and her radiance and confidence in her speech really shone through. And that's really what I want to leave people with.
Thank you, Elaine. Sunny, grammarian. You are unmuted, but we do not hear you. You are unmuted, but there is no voice. There's still no voice. Somehow your voice is not coming through. Let me jump over to the next one and then see if you can figure that one out. Watcher, Rachel, take over. Your best comment.
Two things. One, I see a lot of the tops of the heads this evening. So be aware of if that some of us may not want to see the top of your head, some of us might. And something that I had to work on this evening was the lights in the back. David and Sunny, you've got some reflections in the back. Just keep that into consideration. Other than that, everybody looks good in their square. It's a good job tonight, guys.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Quick, you're unmuted.
Okay, Toastmaster. We don't have to aggressively promote Ring Central anymore. So that's the next thing for next week that I found out today. And I'll post the rest of the summary in the chat.
Thank you, Mr. Quick. Now let's go back to Sunny. Can you get through and see if you can get a grammarian's report? No, somehow we are not hearing it, but that's okay. We will try again next time. I will jump in terms of the words. I think a number of you have used the word respect early on in the meeting. As we get down toward the middle, we kind of drop off. So we be mindful of the word of the day, and let's try to squeeze in as much as we can wherever we can. But I do know that a number of our speakers have squeezed the word into their own speech. With that said, I'm going to turn the time over to Noah. I'll give you a little bit more time, Noah. I'll give you a minute full, 60 seconds.
I appreciate the respect of a little bit extra time. Mr. Toastmaster, it was a pleasure to watch you in action. The most important thing is to be positive and to set the atmosphere, and you did that very effectively. I felt very welcome and could tell everyone was infected by your enthusiasm. I think the theme of my feedback will be choices. I saw examples of people making really strong choices in how they use their time, and other times I saw opportunities to make more aggressive choices. So, for example, Mr. Toastmaster, I thought you could have maybe come in a little bit more aggressively and trimmed down the table topics so we're not in a rush at the end right now. On the table topics, I thought they were really interesting questions. When you call, whoever's typing, if you could mute, if you are going to call on Chris and Jim, make a choice. Who are you calling on? The meetings run smoothly when we make choices and just push things along. Lois, you made a very firm choice to just focus on the areas of suggestions. I thought that was a smart move given the time you had. Michael, I thought you were very thorough, which is a strength and a weakness. Choose your battles. You had a lot of great things to say, but when you say 8 of them, we don't hear any of them. So just choose the 2 that are important so that people get the message you want to say. Jim, love that you included the video presence. Loved the hook. Great gestures, I think. One suggestion for your group is that maybe you have whoever's doing the counting also count how many times people screw up the unmuting, because that's a persistent issue with video meetings. So that could become part of what you watch for. So really great meeting. I got a lot out of this. Gave me a lot of ideas for a club that I might want to start. Thank you so much for including me tonight.
Well, thank you, Mr. General Evaluator Noah. With that said, David, I'm going to turn the time over to you to present our winner of this evening.
Of course. Now, none of them was quite unanimous. However, we do have the best speaker, Dagmara. Yay, Dagmara! Best table topics, Chris Gold. And best evaluator, Jim Barber. So hands way up for all of them. I did also ask for chats for voting in Claudio. So we have to make an exception to our rules. I received only yes votes, so I'm going to say yes. We've already got his paperwork. We do need to get a little bit of money out of you, Claudia. But and speaking of money, I am the treasurer this year. So I should mention that we will be asking for renewal. Now, those of you who are new, we're asking for money through March anyways. But those of you who are in the club, we want you to continue. Please renew for the next 6 months. I do have a little bit of news on that. You may be aware that they were actually charging us a little bit less for an online club dues than for brick and mortar dues. And it's now exactly the same. So it's $45 per 6 months. I hope that doesn't scare anybody away. We really want you back.
Thank you very much, David. With that, thank you very much for your participation. What a wonderful meeting. I will hand the control over to our president, Mr. Jimmy Dan.
Good job, Roger.
Thank you.
That was me.
Somebody have something to say?
Is that a shout out for me?
Oops.
Okay. So do we get comments from our guests tonight? I know Noah already spoke. I think Angela is joining. Is she officially a member yet, or?
I paid.
Angela, are you officially a member?
Yes.
Okay. How about Michael? Good, David?
I will be definitely joining this week. Yes, I really was waiting for the second session as a guest member or as a guest of the club. But this week I will be joining definitely. So hopefully by next Monday I will be already inscribed in the club.
Okay.
You want to tell us what you thought of the meeting then?
I think it's very interesting that there are a lot of differences with a brick and mortar club, and I think those are the things that one is going to have to learn how to adapt to it. But to me, it's something that's going to help me tremendously. This is exactly what I wanted to learn, those different nuances, those different small details. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be a great experience, and I enjoy being here with you all.
Thank you.
Jim, should
I hope to see you sometime here in District 26 sometime. And I wish you good luck in forming a club. And definitely we hope you come back to witness more of our club and get more tips and hints on how to organize an online club yourself. I want to remind everybody to fill out the agenda for next week, sign up for a role, so we can try to have all the roles filled up before the meeting begins.
Jim, before...
And if anybody wants a backup speaker, to fill out that also as a backup.
Okay. Jim, before we break, can we mention that we've also been trying to talk Roger into being our new VP of Education. Could we do maybe a voice vote to make that official, or do you want to wait till next week?
If we got a quorum, we can do it tonight. We can do a hand vote.
Well, does he agree?
Or,
yeah, we twisted some arms. Yes, his arm has been twisted.
You will be awesome, Roger.
All right. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Roger.
You will be hearing from me in
I was
terms
gonna
of
bring that up.
assignments for Toastmasters of the day, where you are trying to catch up in terms of where you want to go, and making goal settings, as Jim have mentioned earlier. So you will be hearing from me this week.
Wow.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right. I know we're a couple of minutes past the top of the hour, but can I show something real quick? My latest website toy?
Sure.
Okay. This is...
Oh, we got to go now.
Okay, guys. See you later.
Okay.
Okay, we'll see you next week.
If any of you use this for brick and mortar clubs, there is a paper sign-up sheet that you can print out. There's now also an online, go ahead and assign people several weeks in advance. So for things like making sure that we have a Toastmaster of the day several weeks in advance, you can just go in here and make a selection. We just made you the odd counter, Adrian. You can back out. And so this is a quick way of seeing what we have coming up. And if anybody has clicked the button to say they plan to be absent, that'll be shown here too. So nice planning tool, I think.
Yeah, very nice, David. Very nice.
Yeah, is this the live one that you had showing up there?
Yeah, no, that was real.
Okay, good. Because at one point in time, I think I saw my name, and next week we're at rally, so I can't.
Okay.
Good.
Well, all right. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right,
Have a good week, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.